In today's episode, I'm going to be sharing with you top 10 questions on the anatomy. And of course, these questions will be provided with some answers to help you better understand with the explanation of the answers so that you can tackle these types of questions in any anatomy class exams. So without wasting time, let's begin with the first question on this list. Which bone is the longest in the human body? We have A, humerus, we have B, tibia, C, femur, and D, the fibula. The correct answer here is C, the femur. The femur is the longest bone of the body. Of course, it extends from the hip to the knee, and it has some major functions like number 1, carrying the weight of the body, and number 2, for locomotion. This is the correct answer. The next question, which bone is not part of the axial skeleton? We have A, the sternum, B, the scapula, C, vertebrae or the vertebra, D, the skull. The correct answer here is the scapula. So when we talk about the axial skeleton, we include 3 of the answers like the skull, the vertebrae, and as well as the sternum. But the scapula, on the other hand, also known as the shoulder blade, is not part of the axial skeleton, but it is instead part of the appendicular skeleton. The next question is, the foramen magnum is located in which bone? We have A, the parietal bone, B, the occipital bone, C, the temporal bone, and D, the frontal bone. So we are talking about the foramen magnum. So the correct answer is B, the occipital bone. So if you look at the foramen magnum, we are talking about the large opening which is found on or at the occipital bone, which function to connect the spinal cord to the brain. The next question, which bone form the forehead? We have A, the parietal bone, B, the occipital bone, C, we have the frontal bone, and D, we have the temporal bone. So the frontal bone is the bone that forms the forehead, and it also forms the socket of the eye, which is also known as the orbit. So the correct answer is C, the frontal bone. The next question is, the mandible articulates with which cranial bone? A, temporal bone, B, the sphenoid bone, C, the ethmoid bone, D, the zygomatic bone. So the correct answer here is A, the temporal bone. So when we talked about the mandible, we are talking about the jaw at the level of the jaw. So this mandible actually articulate with the temporal bone at the temporal articular joint so that it allows movement at the level of the jaw. The next question is, which vertebrae have transverse foramina? A, the thoracic vertebrae, B, the lumbar vertebrae, C, the cervical vertebrae, and D, the sacral vertebrae. The correct answer here is C, the cervical vertebrae. When we talked about the transverse foramina, we are talking about the cervical vertebrae that allow the passage of vertebral arteries supplying the brain. The next question is, how many pairs of ribs are in the human body? We have A, 10 pairs, B, 12 pairs, C, 14 pairs, and D, 16 pairs. The human body have actually 12 pairs of ribs. So the correct answer is B. The next question is, which bone is commonly known as the collarbone? A, the scapula, B, the humerus, C, the clavicle, D, the sternum. The correct answer is C, the clavicle. So the clavicle is also known as the collarbone, and its function is to connect the sternum to the scapula to allow movement at the shoulder joint. And also we can say in order to stabilize movement at the shoulder. The next question is, the olecranon process is part of which bone? We have the radius, B, the ulna, C, the humerus, D, the scapula. The correct answer here is the ulna. When we talk about the olecranon process, we are talking about the ulna, which of course form the elbow which is referring to it. And the next question is, the heel bone is called, we have A, the talus, B, the calcaneus, C, the navicular, and D, the cuboid. The correct answer is B, the calcaneus. The calcaneus is the largest tarsal bone, which of course form the heel, which of course that tends to absorb impact during movement. So these are some of the top 10 questions we have prepared for you under anatomy. Of course, we are going to be coming up with another series of these episodes. You want to make sure to go ahead to see how you can like and also subscribe and enable the notification bell icon so that anytime we upload an update, you'll be the very first to watch to learn something new. See you in the next upload, and bye-bye for now.